Oh, hi. Don't mind me. I'm just simply relaxing. I mean, during these times, who wouldn't want to relax? Now, usually when people are trying to relax, they tend on watching something entertaining, like a sports game for an example. But everyone knows there's none of those going around because of... But who cares? Everyone knows that the best form of entertainment comes from video games, and everyone knows that the best way to experience sports is not by watching it, but by playing it. Now, I'm not really a big fan of sports, but I am a big fan of video games, so hopefully I find some enjoyment out of these titles.
Okay, so have you ever heard of a company known as EA Sports? They're pretty much known for their terrible microtransactions in games such as Star Wars Battlefront 2, and of course producing some of the most successful sports games ever to be made, and one of their top series is a franchise known as FIFA. Now, the FIFA series began all the way back in the 90s and is still going strong to this day, and the reason why so many people like these games was that they were a realistic take of soccer, but of course in the form of a video game. It actually felt like you were playing as an actual soccer player, playing against actual soccer teams on an actual soccer match, and that was a big deal. Now, many people have pointed out that most of these games kind of feel similar to each other. They all look the same, have the same characters, same teams, same chords. The only thing that really changes is the number added to the end of its title. But for today, I'm going to be talking about FIFA 11. Now, why am I talking about FIFA 11? Is it because it's the best FIFA out there? Is it because it added the most features? Is it because it changed the whole FIFA dynamic? Nah, it's just because it's the one I currently have. So FIFA 11 is actually not the 11th FIFA game released. They basically numbered the games after the following years that the games were released. Basically, if the game released in 2010, then the game would be called FIFA 11. If the game released in 2008, then the game would be called FIFA 9. If the game released in 2015, the game would be called FIFA 16. And why do they do this? Alright, so let's talk about the gameplay of FIFA 11. So the gameplay of FIFA 11 is very similar to the gameplay of FIFA 10, which is similar to the gameplay of FIFA 9, which is similar to the gameplay of FIFA 8, which is similar to the gameplay of FIFA 7, which is similar to the gameplay of FIFA 6. Why do I keep saying that? Because they all play the damn same! And graphically, even though this game was released on the PS3, it looks like it could easily be played on the PS2. That's because it was also released on the PS2. I think I just expected a lot more from a game releasing in 2011. Oh, sorry, I mean 2010.
See what I mean about those titles? They just don't make sense!
Okay, so if I had to say a positive of the game, I would say from the few matches I played, I actually enjoyed it. But this is one of those games where you play for a bit and then you play something else. It's enjoyable for the few minutes you do play it, but I wouldn't recommend playing it constantly. Overall, FIFA 11 is a fun game if you're not playing it for that long.
Okay, I think that's enough from EA. Let's talk about another sports company that produces high quality sports games. Today we're looking at 2K's NBA 2K16 game.
So first off, I'm just gonna say it. I think that 2K makes the better games than EA, and I think that 2K16 is actually really enjoyable. Now, it's nothing amazing or anything, but I think that the gameplay replicates actual basketball to a T, and I think that it's fun for casuals and for diehard fans of the actual NBA. Graphically, this game looks alright. All the players used in this game look like their actual real world counterparts, and all the announcers they used are actual real announcers from the real NBA. They really tried their best to make this game feel like an actual NBA match, and I think it succeeds. Now, this game is a lot more harder to control than FIFA 11, but with a bit of practice, you'll get used to controlling your player, and it actually feels a lot more fun than FIFA 11 ever did. One of the main highlights of this game, well, at least the highlight to me, is the career mode, and it's actually really fun. You start out by making a character, you customize his appearance, give him a name, and give him an identity, and then soon you head out to become an NBA superstar. Now, one of the reasons why I like this campaign is the fact that it makes you feel like an actual NBA legend, and while it does get difficult towards the end of the campaign, who cares, it's fun, and I can't hate something that's fun. Overall, 2K16 was a really enjoyable sports game, so for the next sports game, if I can even call it that, okay, I have to explain. Okay, so Need for Speed is basically like Fast and Furious, except it's a video game. You play as a cop or a racer, and you go around just doing stuff, mainly just crashing, a lot of crashing. Yeah, mostly just crashing. Now, the specific game I'm talking about is Need for Speed Rivals, where you play as racers who race each other. And last time I checked, racing is classified as a sport, so this is a sports game, I guess.
I am really stretching it with this one.
Okay, so the racing in this game is really complicated. Okay, you see, you go from point A to point B, and that's it. So there's obviously not going to be that much in terms of the racing, considering this game isn't really a sports game. If I had to say anything interesting about the racing, you do get chased by the cops, which leads to a cop chase. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't call that sports-like. Overall, this game is a fun game, but a bad racing game. But enough from those super realistic sports sims, let's talk about some games that are actually easy to digest. Nintendo, known for making super fun and addictive games that both kids and adults can enjoy. Now, when it comes to most of their sports games, they usually revolve around the Mario IP, but that doesn't mean they're the only sports game Nintendo ever makes. No, there actually are a few sports IPs solely developed to just sports. Super Punch Out is probably one of the best examples of this. Now, I've played the original Punch Out before and thought it was a really good game, but I'm more nostalgic towards the SNES than the NES, so I prefer Super Punch Out overall. Now, this game is a big contrast compared to modern sports titles. Those games revolve around realistic graphics, realistic play, and have players that resemble their real-world counterparts. This game has a main protagonist that doesn't resemble any real-world boxing champion. All the characters you face in this game have nothing to do with boxing, and this game looks more like an anime than anything realistic. Doesn't mean the game is bad, however. Far from it. The gameplay is fun and addictive, punching enemies has a nice sound to it, the music is catchy, and the game gets really challenging after a while, making it very rewarding once I actually defeat an opponent. Super Punch Out is just so good at what it accomplishes. It doesn't try to be realistic, it doesn't try to actually feel like a real boxing match, it just tries to be a fun and addictive game that anyone can enjoy. And this kind of segues to my last game. This game is a game that doesn't try to be realistic, but manages to pull families together and also break them apart. It's a game that everyone knows, even though not everyone has played it. And this game is a game known as...
Don't be sad, PS3. It's not that I don't like you. It's just that it's the f***ing Wii.
Wii Sports managed to become a revolutionary title on the Wii, selling over 80 million copies and being one of the best-selling games of all time. But what made this game so successful? Well, for one, it was easy and accessible for anyone to play with it, and two, it had motion controls, which was pretty much a brand new thing back in 2006. I mean, the idea of moving a remote to move your character on screen was mind-blowing, and while it sounded complicated at first, once you actually held the remote in your hand and actually played the game, it was really easy. While Wii Sports doesn't have much in content, the 5 games it does have are all fun and replayable. You have tennis, a pretty understandable game to play. You whack your Wii remote as if you're whacking a tennis racket, and then the rest is just tennis. Baseball, probably the weakest game on the list. Not because it's bad or anything, but because the control scheme is really similar to tennis, so it doesn't really feel that fun to play. Bowling, probably everyone's favorite game on the list, just because this game really feels like bowling. Sure, you may not be holding an actual bowling ball, but the Wii remote feels enough like a bowling ball to where you're still having the same feel. Golf. While there's nothing really interesting about golf, what I do like is that all the fields you play on are exact 3D replicas of the fields in the original NES golf game. And boxing, one of my personal favorites, using the Wii remote and nunchuck just to beat the crud out of a bunch of knees, it's just so satisfying. And the music that plays every time you finish a match? All in all, Wii Sports is a fantastic game, filled with tons of personality and enjoyment. It wouldn't be a shocker from me to say that this is easily my favorite sports game.
So all in all, I actually enjoy talking about these sports games. And you know what? After talking about them, I think I'm gonna try sports. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go try out some sports. Let's go. This is gonna be so exciting. It's gonna be so good. Oh, yeah, that's right.